Miss,
Honey,
I have a question.
sure. What is that?
The second test is not going to be oral, right?
It is. So you're going to have a similar exercise such as this, and you're going to explain it. That's it. Why it's difficult?
Yeah.
But you will have the same thing as you had before. You're going to have the images and you're going to be explaining them. But I'm just going to give you the exercise and you can have your own images to explain. I'm still admitting. Okay. Well, actually, when you explain it like that, you have the chance to discuss it with your partner and say if it's right or wrong. And most of the times I usually intervene and I said, are you sure? So you can double check. Okay, this was the homework you had. It's already 5 o'clock, 2 minutes past. And I'm still admitting people. There we go. Okay. Let's review our last session. Our last session was about the red clause. Do you remember? Remember the explanation what happened in the red clause? Because here we have another red clause. So I want you to explain it to me, how you would do this according to what I had explained to you on Friday. What is the process here? First of all, what is the name of this letter of credit? Guys, what is it? By the proposal of this or the statement of the problem, you already know what type of letter of credit you're going to be working with. Which would be this one? What is this? What clause is it?
Red clauses.
Red clause. What is this?
And green clauses.
Green clause. And this one?
And confirm clauses. Confirm.
No, it's just information. It's just informed.
Is confirm clauses or not?
Mm-mm.
If?
Nope.
No.
Only
Oh,
when you're being
sorry.
informed. Only when you're being informed through your personal bank.
No.
What is the name of that clause? Anyone? Yes, thank you. Advised letter of credit. And remember that when we see this statement, these are the special requests. In general, all the letters of credit, unless it's stated, we say that it's irrevocable, untransferable. And then we start with the objects of the question. Red clause, green clause, advised. And we finished with time or site. But if it doesn't say that the importer needs to pay at a later time, it is always going to be site. Okay, so those are the constant. Constants are 3: irrevocable, untransferable, and site. And you always start with the name irrevocable, untransferable, and then all the rest of the conditions, and you finish with site if nothing is said about it. Okay, so what did you do here? What is the first movement? What is the initial step? Suppose that I am the importer and you are the broker. What is the first thing we do?
Means the import must contact to the broker, with the
Okay.
broker.
Okay, so if you are the broker and I tell you I want antique chandeliers, right? What are you going to do?
Give you a pro forma invoice?
Not yet. You're jumping the gun. You gotta be logical. Remember that when you're working as a broker, this is not your merchandise. So you cannot make immediately, like the exporter, you cannot make immediately the pro forma invoice. You have to follow certain steps because it's not your merchandise. So what are you supposed to do?
Look for a seller.
That's correct. You gotta look for the sellers that sell antique chandeliers, right? You gotta look for the merchandise. Who sells them? Okay, how many quotes are required? How many quotes will you have to present as a broker?
At least 3.
That's correct. The standard is 3. It depends on the deal and the conversation you may have with the importer, that the importer may request 3 or may say, give me 2 quotes or more. Okay, but the standards are usually 3. So after you get in touch with the 3 different sellers and you got their quotes, because it's not your quotes, it's their quotes, right? It's how much they charge for those particular types of chandeliers. What are you supposed to do with them? Let's go step by step. What are you supposed to do with those quotes? Keep them? Trash them? What do you do?
You need to show them to the importer.
That's correct. So if I'm the importer, I'm going to check all those quotes you're presenting me, whether they are online or physical. I'm going to choose. I'm going to say, okay, I like this chandelier and I like that other one. And I tell you what I like. What are you supposed to do next? Remember that you are the one representing me as an importer, as a buyer. You are buying for me. So you are in the other country. What are you supposed to do next? You are doing the errand. Remember that the word errand means trámite. You are doing the errand. What are you supposed to do? Be logical. So now we know what type of merchandise we're going to buy. What else is necessary for you to make or to ship the merchandise?
The quantity?
Well, that is part of the quote, right? Because you need to know how much you're going to buy, but you have that already in the quote. In the quote for the merchandise. What are you supposed to do now?
Buy them.
Not yet.
The import must choose the merchandise.
Okay, I have already chosen. Okay, so I give you my choice. I like these merchandise. I like to buy from company 1 and company 2. What are you supposed to do now?
The transport?
What do you do with the transport?
Give options.
Okay, so remember that you have to quote twice. First, you quote for the merchandise and the importer chooses, right? When the importer chooses, you already know what is the quantity and what merchandise you're going to get for him. But remember that in this moment, you don't have the money. You're just doing the errand, okay? You don't have the money to pay because the importer doesn't have all the information to request the money from the bank. That's why you got to be logical. So quote number 1 is for the merchandise. Quote number 2 is for what?
Services.
Definitely, the services. How are you going to transport this merchandise? Remember that the transportation company, they need to know what type of merchandise they are going to transport. That's why the first quote is very important, because if you don't have the merchandise, or what quantity, what volume of merchandise you're going to transport, how are they going to give you a quote? That's why merchandise first. And then when you know what you're going to buy, you go with that information to the transportation company. And then you get a quote. And remember, again, 3 quotes is the standard for each of the quotes. Remember, quotes for transportation, insurance, custom agents, and everything that is needed in order to transport the merchandise. Okay. So we got the 2 quotes. You have the quotes for the services. You presented to me that I'm the importer. I choose again. Now that you as a broker have that information, what are you going to do? Talk to me. Are you there? What do you do with that information? You know what you're going to buy. You know which company is going to transport. You know which company is going to be the insurer, which custom agent, and so on. You got everything ready. What are you supposed to do?
Calculate the whole amount of money?
No, that's not for the broker. The broker just states all the costs of transporting that merchandise, buying it and transporting that merchandise. Now, what you're supposed to do is to put all that information on what document? What is the name of that document?
Pro forma invoice.
That's correct. So now you put all that information, including, right, what you request, right, in advance, the 10%. You include the name of your personal bank. You include your commission. All the conditions are put in the pro forma invoice, right? And what is the reason for that? Is because when the importer receives a pro forma invoice and he goes to his personal bank, right? Because it's usually the personal bank. The bank needs to know all the costs of the entire transaction. Who calculates how much all this is going to be, considering all the fees of all the 3 banks, because in this case we have a personal bank. The bank calculates, and the bank then approves. Okay, remember, the importer is going to present the pro forma invoice. This we always repeat. This is always the same. Present. What will the teller give him? Talk to me. The importer says, I want a credit, I want a loan to pay for this import. This is what I want to buy. Okay, the teller says, let's see. You have to fill in this form. What form is that? Come on, guys.
The letter of credit application.
That's right, the letter of credit application. Remember that the bank this is just as buying a house, just as buying a car. So pretty soon when you become a professional, you're going to buy a house or a car, and you have to fill out these bank applications. So this bank application is going to have the information of the pro forma invoice, because he's going to put that information there, plus what other information? Talk to me, talk to me.
His financial status.
Yes, his financial status, if he has a house, if he has a company, all the assets he has, all different bank accounts and so on. Why does the bank need to know that information? Be logical. Be logical.
To be sure that he's going to pay.
That's right. You got to make sure that he's going to be financially stable so he can return the money to the bank, plus with all the interest of that credit because it's a credit, right? Okay. So after he presents that to the bank, will the bank inform immediately that the credit is approved or not approved?
No.
Remember that the bank has to verify all the information he gives. The information may be false, right? So the bank has to make sure that when he says that he owns a house, the bank has to know that there is a house under his name under the Internal Revenue Services, right? And obviously has to find out if this transaction, whatever the broker wrote in this pro forma invoice is real, it's true. And remember that when the broker put the information in that pro forma invoice, he had to put the name of the seller, the name of the transportation company and everything. All those details are in the pro forma invoice and they need to know that. Why do they need to know that? Because he has to transmit that same information to the other bank in that country. So when the country receives the information, she has to inform the personal bank because that's what he requested. He requested to be informed through his personal bank. So the personal bank informs. Now that service of just informing also has a fee because he's doing a service. Okay, so in this case, he requested an advance of money. What happens here when the credit is approved and this letter of credit application is transformed into an official letter of credit, in two aspects. How is it turned official?
The ID name, no, ID number,
The ID number and
the name of the letter of credit.
and the name of the letter of credit, right? Now, this is something else that I forgot to tell you on Friday, that whenever we have a broker, we have a red gloss letter of credit, the teller stamps across the paper, whether it's online or on paper, it stamps across red gloss. And why is that? That is to indicate that in this particular transaction, there is no exporter. It's a broker only. Okay, so when they approve the letter of credit, they stamp all across it, red gloss. Okay, she gave him a draft. Two things. Let's look at this. The broker requests an advance of 10%. We have two options here. And this is, you got to remember the money movement from here to here. If she gives him a code, he is going to inform to the broker with a code. So the broker will go to this bank. Remember, he's only being informed here. So he got the information. So he cannot get the money from this personal bank. He's going to get the money from the teller of the correspondent bank. So he will go to the correspondent bank with that code. According to the instructions she had, she knows that he wants 10% advance. So she is going to give him, question, 10% advance of the entire transaction or 10% advance of his 5%? Be logical.
10% of the 5%.
That's correct, because he's asking in advance of his payment, and his payment is 5%, not the entire transaction. So he is going to get the advance of money plus what else? What else is he going to get?
The money for buy the merchandise?
Can he get cash? Can he get cash money?
Code?
No, because he got the code for the entire transaction, for all of it, for the 100% of the transaction. But he cannot collect the 100% of the money. What he's going to get in cash, he's going to get that 10% advance. And the rest, he's going to receive what?
A check?
The checks, right? Remember that he put the name of the companies where he's going to buy the merchandise. So this person here, she's got to produce the checks to pay everybody, to pay the merchandise, the checks to pay the transportation and everything. Remember that she verified everything. So the names are in the pro forma, and she informs her who are the people that the broker will have to pay. So what he's going to receive are only checks, never cash, unless it is the advance of his money. Okay? After that, after he receives all those checks, he pays everybody. And when he's paying, he's getting and collecting, right, all the shipping documents. After that, when he proves that the merchandise and he did all his job, now he goes back to the teller to present all the shipping documents. She verifies it against the SWIFT, remember? And if everything is okay, he is going to receive, right, the money that he is owed, which is 90% of the 5% of his commission. Okay, now he's out of the picture. He did the job. He's done. And she's going to send the documents to the opening bank. The teller of the opening bank is going to call the importer to get the documents and to return the money and pay the credit back. Okay. What else? We did everything. The advance and the personal bank. Questions?
Means I get lost in the 10% of the 5%?
Yes, because he is the beneficiary of his commission. Okay, he cannot get an advance of the money that is going to be paid to the seller of the merchandise, or money that is going to be paid for the transportation. He's got to get the advance on his commission. That is the difference from the exporter. The exporter is, when he requests an advance, he's requesting an advance of the entire transaction, okay, of what he's charging for the merchandise. Yes.
But why 5%?
Because that is the standard for the broker. So imagine if you get a shipment of $25,000, calculate how much is that 5%. Is decent money. And imagine you can sell 3 in a month. You get good money on this work. That's why I say put your eyes into this. Okay. Is anybody else lost?
No,
No? Everybody clear? Okay. We're going to talk about the test next, our next test, test number 2, since somebody reminded me. When are we going to have the second test, which is only going to be this, even though we're going to practice one more time just the transaction with more exercises that I already have in here. And I would like you to exercise it and present it on Friday, so I can tell you you're doing it right or wrong. Because next week, I'm going to start with the documents. So after we see this, we have to add document. What are the documents for the specific type of merchandise? Can we do the second test on the week of the 23rd? So most likely I'm going to have to divide the class in 3 sessions because this is longer, so 3 sessions. Can we? Can we do it on that week? That week and the following, of course. Anyone?
Sure, why not?
Great, thank you. So the week on the 23rd, we're just going to cover this without the documents. And then for the final test, we include absolutely everything: documents, packaging, and containers, which is not hard, but we have to add it up in the deal, what we're going to do, how we're going to package this, and so on. Okay. Are we ready? Let's go for the next exercise. Diamonds. I love diamonds. The exporter, now we have an exporter. The exporter requests to be paid through his personal bank. So we got a similar situation here, but instead of a broker, we have an exporter, right? An exporter with personal bank. At a later time, you request a second shipment and 20% more diamonds. Okay, let's go on the first instruction. What type of letter of credit is this? What is the name? Confirmed. Okay, what is the name, entire name? Just that is one of the clauses. What is the entire name?
Irrevocable,
Yeah,
untransferable,
okay.
confirm and cite.
Confirm and cite. Very good. And this, what is this?
Green clause?
Mm-mm,
Revolving.
mm-mm.
Red, no.
It says at a later time. That means that this shipment with 20% more, remember that the revolving shipments are identical. One is identical to the initial one. So if this is going to have any difference and it's going to be dealt at a later time, it means that it is a second letter of credit. And what is the name of this letter of credit? So you have
Flag.
two, that's correct. So you have two transactions here. You have an initial shipment, a whole process of the initial shipment. And then if you decide to have another shipment, which may also be identical, but this is out of the initial deal, then you have a back-to-back letter of credit, which is going to take the same name, is going to be irrevocable, untransferable, confirmed, back-to-back cite letter of credit. You see? But you have to do the entire process all over again. So here you have two processes in one problem. Got it? Okay. This is what I want you to do for Friday. Prepare the process on this one. I put some of the drawings that may help you here. This is the same. Just change it here for that, which is the exporter. And you try to practice by explaining step by step. And then I have another one. You're importing mangoes from Ecuador. The exporter requests to be paid through his personal bank, 15% advance, and 10% to be paid to a provider for the first shipment. Yeah, and the second shipment, I repeated the same information. For the first and second shipment, both. So you tell me what kind of letter of credit you need for this. Okay, so try to do both so we can practice with both, but not me telling you. Now I want to hear from you so I can tell you, give you the feedback if you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. Okay, So try to team up and present it. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about something else. Let me see here. I want to stop sharing because I want to see you. I have an option for the third evaluation, and I'm going to give you two options. One is a simulated case that is going to be you presenting from the beginning until the end, considering all the facts, packaging in the containers and everything, documents and everything in that simulated evaluation. But I'm also going to give you the option of doing a real life type of transaction, for which so far I have 3 small entrepreneurs that are willing to participate, right? But in this case, you behaving as a broker. If you are willing to do this with real life people, let me know. And those of you who want to do a simulated case, fine. So you would have the option, all right? So think about it and let me know next Friday so I can start preparing you and the entrepreneurs. There is another, besides the entrepreneurs that I have already talked to, there is a page that collects several entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs from all over the country. If you don't want to work with the ones I have, maybe you can contact because you like the products of these people. I can also give you the webpage of all these entrepreneurs. There are over 1,000 entrepreneurs that are very small. They're trying to sell their products. They're from the north to the south of Chile. So if you want to get into that, will be a fun way to start interacting with people and to start looking for a market, because that's what the broker does. They look for a market where the product can be bought. So if you have a seller, for example, an entrepreneur that makes beauty stuff, such as soaps, shampoos, and so whatever, you can look for the market abroad in other countries that are likely to buy this type of products, or that would be interested in buying in art craft, for example. But you let me know. I don't want to impose it, because you may be quite comfortable with a simulated type of activity instead of doing a real life. So you let me know. You have time to think about it so I can put the entrepreneurs together and present them to you. Okay? All right, guys. Questions? I got a chat? Yes, miss. Okay. Thank you. All right, baby. I'm seeing you Friday. Do the homework. I'm going to put it on the virtual room and think about it. All right?
Okay, Miss.
Be good.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, miss. Take care.
Bye, you too.
Bye, Miss.
Bye, honey.